Is he like an Alex Jones type where you're not sure if it's like a joke or not or like serious? Like
Alex, I think Alex believes a lot of what he says, and he's
he like
high
amps it
as
up.
balls on cocaine 24/7, which makes him even more paranoid, which further feeds his tremendous conspiracy theories. So I think Alex, there's a grain of like, I kind of believe my nonsense. There's a chance this dude is like, he knows he's full of shit and he's just playing a role. Apparently, I've heard stories behind the scenes, and you know better than me because you worked at MSNBC, but I've heard stories from other people who've been, behind the scenes there, that at some of these, get-togethers where you see people from the other networks, that Sean Hannity actually is totally playing a character when he's on air. Like, he doesn't really believe half the shit he says. That he's very, like, he walked up to, like, Keith Olbermann or some shit and was like, hey, man, how's it going?
Well, so here's what my observation was in the media circles is like a lot of the people on MSNBC, as cringe as their takes often are, really do believe, like they really do actually believe what they're saying. They feel like they're in it for a cause, and they at least don't feel like they're just putting on a show. I've experienced a lot of the right-wing personalities. This is like, they view it as like, this is my job. This is a character I put on. And that doesn't mean that they don't necessarily believe a lot of what they say. Like, I think Sean Hannity, I've met him. I've been on his show. He does have this very sort of like affable off-air personality, like, American high school football guy, kind of a personality that he has off-air too. Very nice to me when I was off camera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I wouldn't say he doesn't believe any of the conservative things that he brings on air, but I do think they relate to it much more of like, this is the thing I need to do in the show that I put on for my work. And then, and I don't really take it that seriously, ultimately. Has that been your experience too, Shoe? With
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Conservative commentators in the YouTube scene, exactly the same. You meet them in person and they're like, oh, I don't even believe half the stuff I say. I just do it to like, entertain my audience. And it's like, you don't even know what you're doing. You're making the divide so much worse by like, doing this. A lot of them are way more progressive than they let on, which is upsetting. And then also way more like, okay, so they'll get on camera and they'll be like, the fall of the West, degeneracy. And then behind the scenes, they're like going to parties, like snorting cocaine off hookers' butts. Like, it's insane the contrast between like what they put on camera and like how they are behind the scene. So same exact experience.
Yeah. So let me name names here because Hannity was one I heard from the official world. From YouTube. I think, what was it, Blair White, who blew the whistle on Crowder, I think it was, and basically said, like, this guy doesn't believe a fucking word of what he says, because Blair White is trans and somewhat conservative, and apparently, according to her, I think Crowder said to her off air, like, I'm not even anti-trans. I just say this shit on my show. Yeah,
that's who I was thinking about. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not surprised by that one, by Steven Crowder. I'm not surprised by that one, that he's not like actually fully believing everything he says. And the other one, and I have personal experience with this one, and it's not that he doesn't necessarily believe it, but it's just the personality of this guy is incredibly troubling in a way that I don't know if I've ever experienced with anybody else in the YouTube scene. But Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin was a part of the Young Turks Network. I was friends with him back when he was with the Young Turks Network. And he's the only person in this industry, field, whatever you want to call it, that I had conversations with where I remember him telling me, while we're talking about what we do and how much I love it and all this, he's like, what's your end goal? TV show? You want to get on TV? And I thought that was so weird because I was like, no, I like what I'm doing for what it is. Like I'm enjoying it because I think it has value as it is now. And he was the only person who was very clearly like point A to point B, just careerist focused. Don't give a fuck how I get to name recognition. All I care about is the name recognition. And then of course we learned, like Anna Kasparian talked about this, that he was demanding, he wanted 6 figures from TYT for doing one show per week. And there was there was a dispute over that, and eventually he left, and it was very, famous. He was shitting on the Young Turks nonstop, and, now he's gone from, like, left-wing guy to, like, I'm an enlightened centrist or whatever, like I'm a classic liberal, to now it's just like I'm trying my best to be like Ben Shapiro, but I'm just so much dumber that I can't even form regular conservative arguments to convince people, and he's slowly losing his audience, which is delicious to watch.
Yes, although he's still successful, right? I mean, that's the part that troubles me, is some of these people, I'm like, how is anyone watching you and
his
believing
audience
this bullshit?
is like 100% boomers now.
Right.
And
that's true.
His rhetoric is it's still very like 2015, where he's still on the like, oh, diversity of ideas and like ideas, and we never hear these ideas ever. It's always the ideas, the ideas. And like, I know people have made that joke a million times, but literally, like, Dave, what are the ideas? Can we just talk
like
about
we can just talk about them?
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about talking about the ideas.
Right, that's all he does. He never brings up the ideas. It's just let's talk about the idea of ideas.
The ideas.
It's such a fucking idiot. It's unbelievable.
Every time he has a sort of left-wing person on, he's just like, I'm so glad we could sit down and talk about the ideas. And it's like, talk about the ideas. I just want to hear the ideas. Yeah, I was supposed to go on his show years ago, and I like dipped out.
So happy you did that.
Although, I don't know. Remember when Marianne went on with him, Williamson?
Oh, she ran circles around him. That was amazing.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was so good. So maybe you could have done that to him.
Yeah.
Look at his reaction to Rogan to see his personality. I'm sorry, Shoe. Go ahead.
Oh, so no, you go. I'm just saying, I'm kind of glad I didn't go though, because it was back in the day, and I would have been like, the ideas. I would have been the same.
I'm so happy you didn't go. You have no idea how happy I am that you didn't go. But yeah, if you look at his, he's so butthurt at the fact that Rogan doesn't want him on anymore. Yes. And I love watching any like little snippet. Every now and then he says something in like a live stream, and he's like, I reached out to him about my book, and I haven't heard back from him or anything. So maybe somebody else figure out what's going on there. I don't know. And it's like, he's so hurt over it. Cause again, this is a guy who only cares about exposure and like fame. And here's like the number one guy, the number one podcaster, is big ticket to like getting more eyeballs on him. And that guy now despises him, and he's like, what have I done? I love watching him melt over that.
Rogan lives like rent-free in Dave's mind. It's hilarious. Like, he brought up the fact that Rogan wanted to move to Texas, and Dave was like, that's a bad idea because Rogan's a Bernie voter. We don't need any more of those. It's like, what?
Yeah, well, the guy who's all about, I'm all about ideas, bro, and I tolerate people with different opinions. And he's like, ban the Bernie bros from Texas.
Very strange man. And now he's like defending Amazon. Have you seen that? A lot of conservatives actually, because Bernie spoke out about it, I guess. All of a sudden, like, Dave's on Twitter like, I stand with Amazon. Oh, Elizabeth Warren too. He was like, I stand with Amazon against Elizabeth Warren. And even his own audience, like conservatives, a lot of friends of mine who are right-wing have moved a little bit on like the corporate stuff. Like, they're more against corporations now and stuff like that. So even them, like, they're seeing Dave Rubin just completely, sorry for this word, just cuck to, like, Amazon. And they're just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, it's so embarrassing to watch. I don't know who his audience is anymore. I don't know what he's doing, but the Amazon shilling was a little hilarious.